Something that just occurred to me during that cutscene, like, yeah, Dante was spending missions, you know, trying to get to where he is, so, if Virgil only reached here at this point, then what the fuck was he doing all this time between mission 13 and now? Questions for another day, I suppose. Now not only did you get an example of the Tyrannosis theme, but you also heard the Crypt Raider sound of teleporting. Greetings, I'm Solidus-Skully, and welcome back to Devil May Cry 3 Dante's Awakening, where we get, my favourite level in the game. Yeah, continuing the theme of what we saw previously with, you know, unique level vistas that we get to explore. Again, Devil May Cry 3 shows some really great colours in terms of its art design, its creative, level design, as well as, again, having a great balance between, you know, puzzle and combat. In fact, this area of the game actually intertwines the two. So, yeah, I mean, again, in terms of putting its best foot forward, this is definitely the area of the game which I have the most positive things to say about. A lot of the enemies that you're generally going to be fighting around here are pretty much, you know, the bloodfuckers here, but again, on the whole, again, they are powerful for a reason, they have multiple attacks, and they are very much an ultimate test of everything that you've come to face at this point. So their appearance here makes sense, and again, as you're seeing with the vistas all around here, again, discarded statues of demons and gods alike, and again, like the endless vistas, you know, left to explore, as we are very much on the cusp of the underworld here. Or if not, we are actually in the underworld, which I kind of hope will be the case given the beauty on display. I mean, you do technically get to see a bit of the underworld in Devil May Cry 5, but doesn't look anywhere near as spectacular as this, let me say that much. But yeah, needless to say, this is my favourite level in the game for a reason, all across the board really, and well, apart from one little thing at the end that does kind of quash my enthusiasm a little bit, but you know what, never mind, let's keep it a positive, because God knowing I have been very negative throughout Devil May Cry 3's commentary, so, you know, I'm going to keep things as positive as I can, especially as we enter Area 2. Now, compared to anything else, as you're reading right here, yeah, you can't exactly damage these enemies by normal means. There's mirrors reflecting evil into the hearts of man, projecting yourself. So yeah, find the odd mirror out, the one in which that reflects Dante, and you will pretty much win the day by defeating these enemies, as, you know, the mirror that you need to hit pretty much changes from mirror to mirror. Smash each one, and each of these enemies will be defeated. But, yeah, there is a secondary objective in that we need to acquire an item in order to, you know, allow this lady to let us pass, and progress onward as we get closer and closer towards our ultimate goal, Arkham of the Asylum. By the way, yes, they also do make a Batman reference in the trophies of the HD versions of the Devil May Cry, so, yeah, Arkham, you know, that place in Batman, whoopee. But yeah, that's pretty much the end of that. We've defeated the enemies, and yeah, if you're pretty much keen-eyed, I think something similar can be found earlier on in the Tema Negru. Yes, indeedy, we find a Vital Star. Delicious. Now then, let us move onward to the next challenge. Now, as you can see here, with a little fucking Event Horizon Astrolabe, as well as the hourglass in the middle, yeah, this is a bit of a time-based challenge. Your timer is indicated by the running sands in the hourglass, and again, if you let it get too full on the other side, well, time pretty much resets and you gotta fight these enemies all over again. So, Dante be nimble, Dante be quick, and destroy these enemies with your missile launcher. That looks like a stick. Yeah, I can do nursery rhymes, sort of. And, once again, still trying to make the best use out of Wild Stomp that I can. I mean, again, if there is anything extra positive that I can still say about Devil May Cry 3, it does kind of sadden me that later games kind of... Well, okay, I don't want to say that they lose out on some of the depth of the style system that 3 had, but... Again, like, I mean, some of the hidden abilities that I mentioned beforehand, you know, pole play, free ride, wild stomp and stuff like that, I kind of lose out on some of those abilities, which, I don't know, it's kind of saddening to be perfectly honest, because again, like, whenever you can utilize hidden mechanics like that and, you know, make it look stylish and make your moveset look diversified, it makes combat look, interesting. As opposed to when you're getting caught up in level geometry where it's implied that Dante's defeating the enemy, or that it was just simply so great that you weren't allowed to see it because it was great. Yeah. But in any case, so to once again comment on the visual design, fucking immaculate. Again, as we get a fucking beautiful look as this, you know, continues to rotate between light and darkness. It's fucking beautiful, really. But yeah, the samsara that we need to collect from the hourglass is what we need to progress, and yeah, as we go through the next, the next mirror portal thing, it is easy to get yourself turned around and go back the way you came, like I did. Not that you're going to be seeing that here, because we do a little bit of editing teleporting, where you go back to the boss rush arena, but yeah, you pretty much go right back through, end up back here, jump back into the mirror room, and then you pretty much use the samsara, progress onwards, and then you get to the boss fight that is, well, unfortunately, the one little aspect of this boss fight that's kind of sucks, to be perfectly honest. But yeah, sadly there's not really much else to do. You can knock over some gravestones, I guess. Just further adding to Dante's bad luck. I wonder who all of these people were. Whatever, really. Actually, it's kind of putting me in mind of the Devil May Cry reboot, actually, because, like, I mean, some of the statues in that game, as you see in the underworld, particularly for that game's version of Sparta, it seems to sort of imply that those trapped in the underworld made of stone were actually living demons and angels at one point, but, yeah, that's just really sort of going off, you know, that game's version of Sparta and, you know, one of its in-game characters of Asiel. But yeah, that's neither here nor there in this case. Enjoy the cutscene and, well, if you miss the negativity, it's coming back.
It's like staring into a backed-up toilet. Why do you always stick your nose in other families' business? Come on, dude. Don't you have any hobbies? My father wasn't so hideous. Can't you tell by looking at me? Anyway, that shape suits you better. Let's begin the main event.
And so we have our boss fight that's, by the way, call me crazy, but isn't this seeming a little bit familiar? You know, a guy who's looking to usurp ultimate power from a legendary powerful demon, and, you know, then when he gets a hold of said power, he ends up turning into a malformed version of what that thing was meant to be. You know, kind of like Devil May Cry 2's Arius. I don't want to say that Arkham's a complete rip-off of Arius, considering that some of the methods and, you know, the personality are a little bit different in some aspects, really, but yeah, for whatever reason, the Itsuno era of Devil May Cry really seems to love this plot point of, like, greedy people wanting to usurp power. Like, I mean, in Devil May Cry 2, you had Arius wanting to usurp Argosax. Again, depending on whether or not that was Itsuno or the previous director, I'm not too sure, so that might just be a happy coincidence. You know, 3 obviously has Arkham wanting to be Sparta. Devil May Cry 4 has, you know, that game's villain Sanctus wanting to be, you know, basically Sparta 2.0. And, I mean, even in Devil May Cry 5, you pretty much have, ooh, I came close to spoiling that there, but, that game's villain Urizen, you know, pretty much going after ultimate power, but going after the same thing that pretty much made Mundus, you know, invincible demon just add water, so yeah, I really don't know what the Itsuno era's deal is with basically having this fucking Mario equivalency plot of an evil demon usurps power, Dante smack it up and, you know, be a bit of a wee bit of a fuckhead, do lally, do the comedy, dancing, whoopee, yeehaw, and yeah, whatever. I don't know. Just strikes me as slightly repetitive. Obviously those games have a little bit more going under the surface, which is why I'm not completely cynical, but in terms of setup though, I mean, it's kind of a bit limiting in terms of some of the villains that Dante can face. I mean, again, unless of course you're planning on developing it in such a way where, you know, there's an interesting conflict or background plot going on, or, you know, something akin to the 2007 Devil May Cry anime, where, admittedly, it did actually have a bit of an interesting twist with the, you know, the whole Sid, you know, background plot that was running all throughout that arc, with otherwise individual adventures of a day in the life of Dante. Yeah, to me, I hope for Devil May Cry 6's sake they have at least a villain with a different motivation than just, I want ultimate power because I'm evil. Yeah, well. Again, I mean, in terms of the boss fight itself, don't worry, there is a bit of a second phase coming up, but yeah, it'll pretty much, you know, swipe at you, it'll launch out little shit weasels to, you know, pip you and take health away. Pretty easy to gain style points from as well, but, yeah, we're gonna be getting into the shitty aspect of this boss fight a little bit later, because, honestly, its enemy dynamics, even as of now, are unimpressive, but they're about to get a whole lot more unimpressive when they start to handicap you. And that's coming now.
I've come to retrieve my power. You can't handle it.
Look at you, making a big dramatic entrance and stealing my spotlight.
What? You don't possibly believe that he deserves to be our main event now, do you?
Now that you mention it, you're right.
You should come to realize you cannot control the power of Sparta.
You're wasting your time, buddy. I think he needs to learn the hard way.
So, because of the fact that they wanted Virgil in this fight, who's just sort of here because fuck it, why not, and is working with Dante more as a means to an end to acclaim more power, so whatever, I guess they're sort of accepting the help while they can. Yeah, basically, with Virgil being relegated to the shoulder buttons, no devil trigger for you, and Virgil doesn't really do much of fuck all, really. You can call him to pretty much use some of his, you know, swipes and judgment cuts and whatever, but it's not much of a help, really, and quite frankly, I would have preferred the devil triggers, so quite frankly, yeah, this is more of a hindrance than it is a help, really. Thanks, Virgil. We were we were all happier for your absence. And the second of which is that not much really changes in terms of the phase 2, so this boss fight kind of feels like a bit of a wash. But once again, to kind of further go into critiques of Virgil once again, like, they're trying to do this whole, like, oh, look, it's the brothers teaming up, rivals, setting aside their differences and what have you. I mean, again, if there's one point that I actually can sort of point of praise to the Devil May Cry reboot for, is that, again, considering that game's version of Dante and Virgil, again, like, crude as Virgil's means of turning evil is in that game, you know, complete with mimetic, now the path is clear for us to rule line. At the very least, that game had Dante and Virgil spending a lot of time together as friends and allies, so, you know, having them team up is at least somewhat cool when they're fighting that game's version of, you know, Mundus. Here, on the other hand, it's just kind of whatever, really, but then again, that might just be because I find Virgil to be a bit of a pish character in this game, and, quite frankly, the rest of the series, mind you, so yeah, what chance in hell does he really have, to be honest? Either way, though, like, yeah, again, this was an otherwise great level that ends on a bit of a damp squib of a boss fight that's also hampered by the fact that Virgil shows up to pretty much ruin everything. Local son of Sparta ruins everything, and that is the Virgil. Backed up toilet. See, look, he even looks like a demon feces.
try it your way for once.
Remember what we used to say? Jackpot.
Not very classy for someone's dying words.